My name is Hannah McCollum, and I'm in my 8th year here at Peddie, where, in addition to meeting and getting to know applicants like all of you, I get to work with our Merit Scholarship Program, serve as an advisor, teach an English elective in the spring, and work with one of our affinity groups. I'm also a Peddie parent, and 3 years ago, I watched my older daughter, now an 11th grader here, go through this process. So I'm excited to walk you through the parts of the application to Peddie. Let's start by talking about another required part of the application process. All students at Peddie are required and expected to submit standardized test scores. If you're applying for the 9th or the 10th grade, you may submit either SSAT or ISEE scores. If you are applying for 11th grade or a postgraduate year, you may submit PSAT, SAT, ACT, SSAT, or IC scores. Because many of you are 8th graders, perhaps taking a standardized test like this for the first time, I wanted to just briefly discuss some ways that you can prepare. We definitely do not believe here at Peddie that you should spend oodles of time preparing for the SSAT or the IC, but having some familiarity with the test's format and the types of questions you're going to encounter can reduce your stress and then allow you to do your best. There are many resources to help students prepare for the SSAT. The SSAT website, for example, actually has a free practice test that you can access once you create an account. There are also some test-taking strategies. For instance, on the SSAT, you get 1 point for every correct answer, but you lose 1/4 of a point for every incorrect answer. So one strategy you should use while trying to answer a tricky question is see if you can eliminate 2 of the answers. If you can, then it's definitely worth it to guess. But if you can't, it's better to just skip that question altogether and not risk losing points due to random guesses. Please know that we will engage in a holistic review when making our admission decisions. That means that all pieces of the application are considered and carefully reviewed, including your academic record, the rigor of the curriculum at your school, the teacher recommendation letters, extracurricular activities that you do and your involvement in them, student essays, which you will write, the optional parent statement, the interview, and the test scores. Test scores certainly are not and have never been the only data point for the Peddie Admission Committee. Much like there's no minimum GPA that a student needs to achieve to earn admission to Peddie, there's no minimum score that a student needs to get to gain admission to Peddie. We admit a range of students who have a range of talents and abilities, and that includes a range of test scores. At Peddie, just so you know, each application is read multiple times by multiple people, and each applicant is reviewed as a student and as a person, as we assess their academic readiness, excitement, curiosity, and character, the key qualities that lead to success here. One note for international applicants. Applicants for whom English is not the primary language are required to take the TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo test. If you've attended a school for at least the last 3 years where English has been the primary language of instruction, then you are not required to take one of these tests. Peddie accepts our application through both the standard application online, or SAO, or the gateway application. And today, I just want to give you a preview of the pieces of the application to Peddie. There's a link to both of those platforms right on our website, and you'll be providing the same information to us regardless of which platform you use. It doesn't matter to us whether you do the SAO or the gateway, and there's no advantage to one or the other. Whether you use the SAO or the gateway application, you're able to complete one application for however many schools you're applying to. We are certainly eager to make this experience as manageable as possible, although we also recognize it is a lot of work. We're excited to get to know you, your interests, and your commitments, all of which you're going to share in the application. First, I'd like to show you where you can share your interests and hobbies. This section looks a little different on the SAO and gateway applications, so I'll show you both of them. Let's start with the SAO. We're going to look first at the part of the application where you share your activities beyond the classroom learning that you do. In the applicant profile section of your SAO application, click on the orange button that says Edit Profile. You'll be taken to a page that looks like this, where you'll share with us details about the activities you enjoy and your involvement in them. Now let's look at the Gateway application activities section. This is what it looks like. When you're completing the Gateway application, you may notice a red asterisk. That means you're required to answer that question. But don't worry, if there's a required section that you forget to complete, the form will remind you to do it before you press submit. When I was completing an application just to prepare myself for this webinar, I learned that on the Gateway, you actually have to check at least one academic area that you're interested in studying. Please note, whether you're completing the SAO or the Gateway application, once you submit your profile, it can't be edited. So if you'd like to change or add anything once you've already submitted your application, we ask that you email that to us, and the email address is admission@peddie.org. admission@peddie.org. If you're using the Gateway application, please make sure that when you hit submit, you also pay the application fee so that we can access your application. One way we get to know you is through your teachers. We require 2 recommendations, one from your current math teacher and one from your current English teacher. As you can see, we also require a recommendation from your principal or guidance counselor. The form that they complete asks for information about your school, including how many students attend, how many students are in your grade, how students are graded, and so on. Your principal or guidance counselor will also upload your academic transcript to your application. A transcript, in case you don't know, is an official document that includes the grades you've received during your time at the school. We require grades from this year plus from the past 2 years. So if you're applying to Peddie for the 9th grade, for example, we will need your 6th, 7th, and the first term of 8th grade grades. Regardless of the platform, parents, you will be asked for permission for your child's school to share your child's transcript with us. We also want to remind all of you that confidentiality matters in this process. Recommendations must come directly to Peddie from the teacher who's writing them. They cannot be sent to you and then forwarded to us. You will send the forms for these recommendations to your teachers through the application, whether that's the SAO or the Gateway. The 2 platforms look just a little bit different when you're requesting recommendations from your teachers, so let's give you a preview of each one. This slide shows how you request recommendations on the SAO. If you have an additional teacher, either a current teacher from a different subject, or perhaps a teacher from a previous year who knows you really well, and you'd like to have them include a recommendation in your application, we welcome you to have them submit that by filling out an optional Any Teacher Recommendation form on the SAO, or they can do the personal recommendation if you're using the Gateway. You are also invited, but not required, to submit a personal recommendation. This could be from anyone outside your family who truly knows you and can add dimension to your application. For example, it could come from a religious leader or a youth group leader, a music teacher or a coach, or a Girl Scout or Boy Scout leader. Here's what it will look like when you go to request recommendations if you're using the Gateway application. One piece of advice about recommendations: we strongly encourage you to speak to your teacher in person about writing a recommendation before you send them the form. Completing recommendations takes time and effort. Your teachers are busy, and asking them personally for their help and thanking them for it is a nice way to show your appreciation. We also have a parent section. Parents, you certainly know your children best, and we welcome and love hearing about them from you. The optional parent statement invites you to share your reflections about your child in a checklist and in response to 2 questions. Let's turn now to the parts of the application where you students are going to tell us a little bit more about yourselves. There's a Peddie specific part of the application called the Peddie supplement. We want to learn a little bit more about you, and we'll ask about your favorite food and music. We'll ask why you're specifically interested in coming here. Have some fun with this part and don't think too hard about it. It can actually be a little tricky to see the Peddie supplement on the application. So on this slide, on the left, you can see that on the SAO, you need to click on a blue bar that says Show 2 school-specific items and more details. Once you click on the down arrow next to those words, you'll see the form. You press the Start button, and then you'll see the questions. On the Gateway application, the Peddie supplement section is called Short Answer. At Peddie, we're eager to see examples of your artistic work and put athletes in touch with our coaches. Musicians, actors, and singers are encouraged to share examples of their work directly with our art department as part of their application. To do this, we ask that you please use the art supplement forms, which you can find on the How to Apply section of our website. Athletes, if you have significant experience in a sport that you'd like to play at Peddie, we encourage you to reach out directly to our varsity coaches by email. You can find their email addresses and names on the athletic section of our website. So we've gone over a number of details about the ways in which you complete the different parts of the application. You can watch a separate video with the head of our English department, Kurt Bennett, who will walk you through some tips as you are working on your short answers and essay questions. I do hope that this was helpful. Thanks for joining.